Good day to you all. Welcome to another installment of Narcissistic Parents and Family. This is now episode 5, where I'm reading excerpts from a book that I've been writing for many years about my personal experiences with narcissism, primarily my parents, and I wanted to share this knowledge and hopefully enlighten myself and everybody else. So I have had an indica dab and I am ready to go. I grew up under the impression that my father despised everything that I was. It continued into my adult years to the extent that I know that statement is in fact true. I considered these strange emotions by someone who is supposed to love me. The only times I can recall positive emotions from him is when I first had sex, the unconditional acceptance of masturbation, and a few times he told me I was a good father. I once came up with a list of 50 things he did to me that you would not do to your worst enemy, but I lost it or it would be included in this correspondence. Don't worry, they're in my head only to be accessed when I need to punish myself. Two things come to mind when I need to personify the absence of a positive male role model. Are hunting and the years that I was employed with my father. As it pertains to hunting, there were only 1 or 2 times that I can remember walking into the woods with my father and it being a pleasant experience. I normally would walk out of the woods vowing to never go back in with my father. Everything was a harsh lesson. When he taught me something about a trail, animal sign, perhaps a broken branch, evident of a passing animal, it was like he was not doing it to teach me. It was more like he was proving to me that he was the be-all and end-all of the hunting world, and I should kiss his feet for being so amazing. Most times it was like any other lesson he tried to teach me. I felt that it was more for him to feel powerful than it was for him to teach his son. He would look at me very mean and intimidate me with his standard low growling tonality. If I had a question, he would act disgusted that I asked, and if I did not learn the first time he showed me, he would get extremely upset and take the abusive tone up a notch. Only then did you know you're in fact the dumbest person alive, and your self-esteem would go down yet another notch. He was obsessed with the fact of hunting itself, and more to the point, his perfection of it, that he never really seemed to have fun. It was all about getting the game, walking out with the trophy, or he was wasting his time. He did not appear to realize that it could have been about enjoying the beauty of nature, spending quality time with his son, or passing down a legacy of which he often referred. Once he walked into the woods, his personality changed. Consequently, I grew to detest the hunting experience altogether. He hated that as well. I really tried my best to work it out because I really did enjoy the sport at one time, but sometime in my 20s, after he was still making me feel like a failure in the woods, I vowed to never step foot in the arena with him again. That's not to say that I do not still have the love for hunting in my heart, and I may pick it up again. Unfortunately, that legacy will be mine and mine alone if I choose to pursue the sport. It would be great if hunting could be something that was passed down through the generations of my family. It could be anything passed down for that matter, perhaps only knowledge and wisdom. That sounds completely legitimate out of the gate and is entirely preferable to strutting around your life smacking people in the face, which is exactly what my father did. I don't think it really mattered who you were. He just really, really enjoyed doing it to his family. Forget it. I was a male, and I got treated this way by a misogynist. So forget about my mother and her and my sister. Just for being females, they really got a good amount of just dad hated women terribly, and I understand that because I know a lot about psychology. But the more that I study that when it comes to like really deep Freudian hatred for women, I mean, I'm a man and I don't really think I have it. That could be a conversation, but hey. I thought Dad hated me. This first line here, I grew up under the impression that my father hated me, despised everything I was. A lot of people, especially my mother, used to think that was really extreme, and I can tally the times that I talked to that man about anything. Anytime I want anything, hey Dad, how you doing? He would look at you like you wanted to bite your head off and to kill you. He'd never give you any information. He'd never talk to you. He was totally quiet all the time. It continued into my adult years for sure. Me and Dad were up and down when it came to our relationship. I guess when we worked together, we got a little bit quote unquote closer, but it was never. It always just went to shit again, And I just kept fighting for it. and I just fought for years and years. And if I had to give any advice to anybody if doing the fighting now, if you're in your 20s or 30s and you have just some asshole father and you're a male, it's and you want somebody to relate to, just walk. I've told people to do it before. Just walk. These fucking guys, especially boomers, man, they just NPCs all day long, man. I'm sorry to the boomers out there that I am offending right now, but you're not all that way. It just so happens that where I'm from right here, my father and my wife's father are exactly the same. So we can talk about in the future about how you want with people that are born for certain generations. I'm a Gen X, and I'm sure I act a certain way. So strange actions by someone who's supposed to love me. I always refer back to my own son. I don't think to treat him that way. I love my son. I don't want him to hurt. My father acted like he wanted me to hurt. The thing about Dad is it became very obvious that he really focused on sex as like a really big thing, and it became that in my life too. I looked at sex in a really, really bad way. It's oversexed, and I've only recently really come into contact with that, just partly. But he said, Danny, when you first have sex, I need you to come tell me first. I want to be the first one to tell me, and I did. I went back to him like it's a badge of honor. He's like, good job, man. So looking back on that, I'm like, no, that's not how I do it, because I am not. That's not how we do things. Sex and unconditional acceptance, masturbation. It's funny when you look back on the things that your parents love you about, and then I was like, like masturbating, I was like, feel bad. I'm like, Dad, I feel bad. And he's like, oh man, it's totally fine. I'm like, really? And so, green light. I came up with a big list one time of things, and they're in this particular letter too. I'll come up with things that you won't do to your worst enemy that Dad's done to me, just terrible things, even as I got quite a bit older. The hunting, always a huge thing. My dad was a big, huge hunter. He came from Chicago, a city guy, back to his real father that lived in Springfield, Ohio. His father was a hunter, and he was trying to get back to that. And Dad just looked at it as very solitary. But then he got in this unfortunate position where he had kids, and then he kind of had to show himself, and he was just not good at it. Not good at it. Melissa got passed over. My sister got passed over. I only say her name, by the way, because she's cool with it. I will not say my parents' name or any of my other family's names. I don't want to incriminate anybody at all. My parents wouldn't do that. And that's just all he cared about. And he'd take me in the woods as a little kid, and I remember one time he's like, threatening me to smell some piss. I'm like, I don't want to smell that piss. And he's like, just get your face down. I'm going to push your face down in that piss to smell it. I'm like, Dad, Christ, I think I was probably at least 18 by then. Harsh lessons. Everything's a harsh lesson with Dad. It was just the total, when he got into the woods, that was the epitome of his bad attitude. So it was a really interesting place to be. So eventually, I realized certain things about it. After you sit back and watch it, you don't say anything. That he wants to feel powerful from this, and that's why he did it. And intimidating. He's a very intimidating man. And he'd always win at that, too. He'd get all the way to yelling, and he'd just scare you half to death and make you feel like you were going to get stabbed or something. He never enjoyed it, 100%. Never enjoyed hunting, in my opinion. When he was alone in the woods, he enjoyed hunting. My father was a loner that happened to have kids, and he should have never had kids, So I eventually stopped, and I would not. And like I said, I did kind of like it. I have, killed a deer and did all that crap with him. And I actually, to be honest with you, I do not like it. That could have a little bit to do with Dad and growing up with it, because I've seen just hundreds of dead animals in my life. And I'm kind of tired of seeing them, I like to eat just like everybody else. But Dad, there was always a deer hanging, a duck or a goose or whatever, and who knows what I was eating. But I do love deer meat, and I do believe in the primeval hunting theory, I guess you can say. If I hunted, I made sure I ate the animal and did it honor in every way that I could. And, Dad did that too. To give him a little bit of credit about that, he did okay. If you're a hunter, when guys get in the woods, I do this and that. But he tried to stick to the law. I saw him stick to the law better than anybody else. I'm going to get positive about it. He taught me how to be an effective and safe hunter. He was always afraid of getting shot, which is always a good thing when it comes to being in the woods, But mostly bad. I would have much rather had a good time with my dad in the woods and did that. And I might be passing it down to Cody, and I got a grandson now, so I'd be passing down to him. So there is that next installment, episode 5, guys. As always, have a fabulous day, and drop me a line if you have any questions or concerns.